Uh, hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Jay. I'm here to talk about the Meghan Markle interview that uh that aired of a couple days ago with Oprah Winfrey. Um, yeah, what did I think of it? I thought it was very emotional. And it revealed what the struggles that she went through because because of the discrimination that she faced, classism as well as racism, and the fact that she's American versus um, British. One thing that that Oprah said in the interview um, that really resonated with me was when she said, "Did you silence?" She basically said, "Did you silence yourself about what was going on, or were you silenced?" And Meghan Markle was a little bit hesitant at first to say that she was actually silenced by members of the royal family. But then she just came out with it and she was like, I was silenced. Um, they threatened me. I feel like in the interview too, she was holding back. There's more to it that um, she didn't actually say. Um, you know, um, a lot more to it that she's not actually letting on because the royal family, they got a lot of dark secrets, man. When Jeffrey Epstein died, it was revealed that Prince Andrew was really close with Jeffrey Epstein, and the royal family was heavily engaged in pedophilia. And that family, what I mean, that family is really crooked. You know what I mean? Like you don't get to be on the throne for thousands of years since 1066 AD and freaking not be so crooked and corrupted. You know what I mean? Like we're talking about Britain, the most powerful nation, in the history of the world. How did they become um the most powerful nation in the history of the world? By taking over all these other countries, by taking over India, by taking over the Caribbean, by taking over the Middle East. You know what I mean? And they they were so concerned, like Lisa is saying about the son of Archie's skin color. Why were they concerned about it? Because they don't want to taint their royal legacy with with um black blood, quote unquote. This is why for years the royal family engaged in incest. You know what I mean? Like they would marry each other's cousins, they would marry brothers and sisters with each other, and many of them had hemophilia, and many of them had genetic diseases because they were so concerned with this idea of blood purity. You know what I mean? Like they wanted to have their blood be so pure without any foreign containment, especially um black. You know what I mean? So they were like they told her, you know, the baby might not meet up to the standards, you know what I mean, of us being, you know, white looking. But come on, look at them. They look terrible. Like you see pictures of Prince Andrew, and somebody was like, he looked like he'd been late for his own funeral 4 times over. This guy looks like he's the Walking Dead. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of evil within him. You know what I mean? Because again, he was cool with Jeffrey Epstein. You know, he's cool with a lot of pedophiles, murderers, and evil people. You know what I mean? A lot of dark secrets. It must be a struggle for them to sleep at night. And the part with the curtsying, Yeah, but you got to remember too, Lisa. She wasn't gonna say the whole truth and nothing but the truth because they could have her murdered. Who knows who killed Jeffrey Epstein? It could have been Trump. It could have been them. You know what I mean? We know that Epstein didn't kill himself. Hashtag Epstein didn't kill himself. So she doesn't want to be murdered. So she's gonna say only a little bit. She's gonna hold her tongues because she's still married to him. Notice Prince Harry didn't say not a thing throughout the whole interview. You know what I'm saying? They had Princess Diana killed back in the day in 1997. Come on, you know they did. You know what I'm saying? This family is like a mafia family. You know what I'm saying? This family is a hitman. You know what I mean? Like they'll put out a hit on the poor girl. You know what I'm saying? And also they they made her cut her own family off. Her father said in an interview, the firm, um, remind me, Lisa, about what that is exactly. It escapes me. What the firm is that something that like they tried to keep her in lockstep. Oh, okay, the higher ups. Well, yeah, what we saw in um, Coming to America is what probably really went on. But instead of like taking it for a joke and like look at Leslie Jones and the son adjusting to royal life, this is real life, and that kind of pressure could make somebody, um, somebody in real life to kill themselves and want to be suicidal. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times the transition from royalty to from commonership to royalty is taken for jokes in a lot of movies, like The Princess Diaries, like Coming to America. But if you think about it, if you was placed in that situation, you would face so much pressure that you would want to buckle under the pressure too. Not to mention dealing with racism. Take racism completely out of the equation. Say they were black or she was white, like Princess Diana, she still will have to deal with the ostracization and the you know the persecution, the looks, the comments. But here's the thing: how was she supposed to know um, the family's protocol? You know what I'm saying? She comes from a society, and America is not so egalitarian. We have rich people too, but one thing that is different about the United States that the United States was founded on this principle that all men are supposedly created equal. There is no royal family, there is no aristocratic class, but Britain is very different. Britain is very aristocratic. That's the nature of Britain. You know what I'm saying? Britain is a very class based society. You know, is now, always has been, and probably always will be. Upper class people have to be addressed in a certain way, have to be treated in a certain way. Not just the royal family, but even the dukes, the lords, people like that have aristocratic customs that we don't really have in America. In this society that we live in, everybody older is addressed as Mister, as Mrs. Uh, people like that. You know what I mean? Like, there's no such thing as curtsying in front of somebody. Um, well, they think about the protection. Of course not, Lisa, because again, they are like they are like a gang, and they are like a mafia. If they remove their protection, anything can happen to them that they could set her up somehow, and then they could say, "Well, look, she got into an accident. What do you want from us?" Like exactly what happened to Prince Harry's mother. The same thing that happened to his mom's. You know what I mean, Princess Diana. And then like something happens to her, they're gonna like, well, we didn't do, we didn't cause that. I mean, okay, yeah, even okay, but even the son, okay, something happens to the son, they'll say, oh, well, it was just an accident. Meanwhile, they 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 didn't have the protection on Archie like that. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to think too. William, even his brother William, doesn't want him doesn't want the son to grow up and possibly take his cousin's place or assume his right to the throne. So he gonna be him and Kate Middleton are gonna be in support of lifting them restrictions too. You know what I'm saying? Them brothers, they don't really get along so much. Either the brothers. Well, I'm glad he did. I'm glad he did. Um, Tyler Perry's a good dude. You know, I'm not a huge fan of his movies. Lisa asked, "What do I think about Tyler Perry helping them when they got to the U.S.?" I kind of feel like they were kind of like refugees in a way. You know what I mean? What she was escaping was kind of like somebody escaped from Cuba or somebody escaped from a foreign country that's trying to harm them. You know what I mean? Like, and he was just trying to help them out. Tyler is a good dude. You know what I'm saying? Oprah is a good. Well, now Oprah is not really. You know, she has her own problems, but at least you know, she's trying to expose them a little bit. You know, I don't even, and I said this in my Crown review for the show The Crown. I don't even get why there is a royal family. Like, we're living in 2021. Why is there still this concept of a royal family? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it served a purpose politically at the time it was established because at the time it was established, every every country had one. Now modern countries don't really have them. They have them in the Islamic world, and they have them in the only Western country, really powerful Western country. They have them in um, is Britain, and there's no really point for it because they don't have any political power. They're just figureheads and leeches off the people, the citizens of Britain. That's just the way I would feel. Um, and a lot of British people feel that way. Well, yeah, they take it offensive because white British people and some black and brown British people too, because that's the pride of their country, the pride of like Queen Victoria, Richard the Lionheart, the pride of being British and especially English is in the institution of the crown, especially for conservative Brits, Tories. You know what I mean? But come on, man, your pride rests in the ascendancy of a family that you don't even know. A completely aristocratic family that just sucks the life blood out of the common folks of Britain and throughout the British Empire. Because think about it, the Queen is not only the head of state in just England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. Um, she's the head of state even in some of the West Indian countries like Barbados and um, South Africa and Australia and New Zealand and places like that. You know what I mean? So yeah, maybe she did have a crush. He did have a crush on her Lisa. I don't know. I don't know. You know what I mean? She is a very beautiful woman, but just the scandal of him marrying an American and him marrying uh, a black American at that. His grandfather's brother had to step down um, in the 30s just because he married an American. So they want to keep their marriages totally under control all the time. You know, they don't want nobody to, to marry outside of that, to marry a commoner like Princess Di or an American or somebody of a different race. You know, it's just stupid customs. You know, I don't get it. I don't. To me, traditions are the traditions of men, and traditions are made to be broken. You know, I'm not bowing to nobody. I'm not cursing into another human being or none of that shit. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just glad I wasn't born into that society. You know, even the stuff we do, the formalities we do, even in a street level, like in a gang or whatever, calling somebody an OG or calling, nah, I'm not. I respect you as a man. I respect you as a woman, but I'm not bowing to you. I'm not worshiping you. I'm not. I'm not doing none of that shit. So I fully support Megan on that. I would have reacted the exact same way. You know what I mean? Like, um, I'm marrying. You're marrying that person because you love them. You're not marrying the institution or of the crown. Like bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, definitely I do. Definitely I do, Lisa, because a lot of these black countries that were part of the British Empire, they considered itself more British than the white English people. You know what I'm saying? Like when the Queen comes to Barbados or the Queen comes to Jamaica, when she comes to Jamaica or she comes to Kenya or she comes to South Africa, you know what I mean? Or any part of the black world or even the brown world, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, that was part of the British Empire. They throw themselves out. You know what I'm saying? They consider her, especially Queen Elizabeth. You know what I mean? They're ready to defend this woman and this family more than the actual people that from England. You know what I'm saying? That is their monarchy. Because you got to remember, what is the queen and what is the royal family really in charge of? They're not in charge of the everyday government. Boris Johnson and the prime minister and the House of Commons takes care of that stuff. They're in charge of the Commonwealth countries, the countries that were part of the British Empire, the Caribbean countries, the Asian countries, Australia, South Africa, East Africa, most of East Africa. You know what I mean? So when she does these tours, that was part of the reason too. They mentioned in the interview when Meghan and Harry went on their tour. After they came back from that tour, that's when they really started to have a problem with it because the problem with her is that She's an American. She is outspoken. Again, we don't have that kind of respect and that kind of reverence for um, the monarchy that they have. That the people that were part of the British Empire long for a longer period of time have. You know what I'm saying? Our whole story as Americans was that we was born out of a rejection of that. You know what I'm saying? You read our Declaration of Independence, it rejects notions of nobility. We completely reject that. We have no such thing in our culture, and our culture is built on a distaste and a disdain for that particular institution. Just in the same way that British culture is built in British culture as a disdain for the Catholic Church and a disdain for the Pope. You know what I mean? They have a distaste and a disdain for the Roman Catholic Church and the office of the Pope, and British culture is defined by a rejection of Roman Catholicism. It's in the same way that American culture is defined as a rejection of the British monarchy and the rejection of nobility um, at all. You know what I'm saying? So we never had that, and I hope we never do have it. I know there's certain presidents that wish, like Trump, that wish we had that. You know what I'm saying? I wish we did have a kind of nobility that they could stay in office for life, but we don't have it. We have a distaste for it. We have a disdain for it. Um, so when she got there and she got married to Harry, of course she's gonna speak our mind. She looks at them like any other human being. Like we would look at our politicians. We talk shit about them all day. We talk shit about Cuomo, talk shit about Trump, Biden, Kamala Harris. People don't. I mean, they respect them, yeah, because of the office that they have, but they're not going to stop talking shit about them. They're not going to stop expressing their opinion about them. They're not going to bow to them. They're not going to curtsy to them. You know what I'm saying? We just don't. We just don't do that. We don't have that level of reverence for uh, that office that they have. Kate Middleton has that because although Kate Middleton was a lower than middle class um, British woman, she was still a British woman. She was still inculcated. She still grew up in that culture. The tabloids, yeah, Lisa, I agree. One thing Lisa says one thing they have in common is the U.S. and the U.K. is the tabloids, but the tabloids in Britain are way far worse. Their standards in the United States, they can't print certain stuff. Um, they're not like yesterday. A kid died here in Brooklyn was not died was murdered by his father, and they weren't allowed to print his name. They're not allowed to print victims of crimes that are children. In the UK, they are allowed to print all that stuff in the UK tabloids. For example, in Michael Jackson's case in 1993, um, none of the US tabloids said that the kid's name was Jordan Chandler or what the kid's face looked like or anything. In the UK tabloids, they printed all that stuff. They're allowed to print. They're allowed to print lies. In our media, we're not allowed. We weren't at one time allowed to um, print outright lies. There was such a thing as journalistic integrity. Never such a thing existed in Great Britain. There was never any journalistic integrity in tabloids like The Sun. Um, and, you know, that was one of the things that got under Princess Diana's skin. Princess Diana, um, she dealt with um she dealt with bulimia, and the UK tabloids were printing it all over the media. They were dragging it through the dirt. Here in the United States, we're not allowed to do that. We weren't allowed to talk about Barron Trump, having autism. And when people did start to talk about it, and people did start to make fun of it, other journalists were like, "Wait a minute, we can't do, you know, that's taboo here in the states." It's not um it's not written into law, but it's considered a social taboo. It's an unwritten law. And another thing that's different with American society versus British society is that we have a written constitution. That's something that we can refer back to. In England, they don't have a written constitution. All they have is English common law. So it changes. It could change on a whim. Here we have a process where if we want a law changed, we need a certain amount of senators and a certain amount of congressmen and the president and stuff to vote to have that law changed. In there, they could just um, it could just change on a whim. It's an unwritten constitution, a common law constitution. So um, the idea of journalistic integrity, Lisa, that's written into our laws and the First Amendment, is not written into the laws of British society, unfortunately. Yeah, well, I was glad that it was Oprah and it wasn't Diane Sawyer, you know, or Martin Bashir or some other asshole journalist. You can say what you want to say about Oprah. Yeah, she kind of threw MJ under the bus, and she didn't throw her buddy Harvey Weinstein under the bus. But um, she was not as bad as Martin Bashir or and right there's an example of what I'm talking about. Martin Bashir, a British journalist that when he interviewed Princess Diana, all he did was peg at her and peg at her, and he did the same thing to Michael Jackson. Like they have no British journalists have no journalistic integrity at all, and it's pretty much the same with all European journalists. Um, you know, in some ways it's good, but it's also good to have standards. You know what I mean? Journalistic standards. Um, Things you cannot say, questions you cannot ask. You know what I mean? That are off limits. Ways to go about it. You know what I mean? Because you got to remember, yeah, there's celebrities. Again, I say this like I said for Britney Spears, like I said for Whitney. There's celebrities, but at the same time, they're human beings too. They have emotions too. You know what I'm saying? So you conduct yourself in a professional way as a journalist. You don't conduct yourself in like Vlad, for example. Vlad is the type of person that when he interviews people, he's like he should have been a British journalist instead of an American hip hop journalist. He's the type of dude that he'll ask really personal questions. He'll get you to basically incriminate yourself. With his interview style. Diane Sawyer is the same way. You know what I'm saying? So certain journalists have integrity, certain ones don't. Certain ones, the things they ask and the way they ask them make you just want to get up out of your seat and punch them in the face. You know what I'm saying? Because you know, I, you're trying to get me to say something that may have me killed or may have me arrested or may get me depressed or may get me to, you know, commit suicide. You're pegging at me and you're pegging at me, you're pushing me and you're pushing me. And how far can you push me before I'm pushed off the edge? You know what I'm saying? So I think Oprah um was good in that sense that she didn't really push Meghan Markle, Meghan Markle that much. She allowed Meghan to express herself. Oh, well, yeah. Uh, but when Diana said it, she was killed. Lisa, you know what I mean? Lisa said that she was trying to um, say it about the monarchy too. But well, yeah, she was killed. Nobody liked Diana, and plus, Prince Charles already had another girlfriend. When he married Diana, so that was a little bit different. He really didn't want to marry Diana, but the lady he was seeing, that he's married to now, she was um, she was married. At the time he was seeing her. So that was another thing. He really didn't love Diana like that. It was just a marriage of convenience because the one he really wanted to marry, he couldn't, because she was already married, you know? So I don't think that was the case with Harry. I think he really loved Megan, and that's why he left. He left Britain to go to Canada. But the rise of racism in Britain is getting to be worse, worse than or just as bad as the United States. Because at the end of World War II, remember, the people from these black and brown British countries, British colonies, came to Great Britain. And a lot of the working class British people didn't, you know, they didn't really like it that all of a sudden um, people from Jamaica, people from India, people from Pakistan, people from, all these other brown and black British countries were finally coming to Great Britain to live. And we're still dealing with things like that today. A lot of racism and a lot of um, Islamophobia in Britain. I mean, look at Brexit, for example. Why did um, the UK choose to leave the European Union? Because they didn't want the Syrian refugees to come in. And the head of the European Union, Angela Merkel, was allowing, like I said, Lisa, the part where she was talking about how she was silenced and how they lifted uh, um, they lifted the protection from her, and also because of the skin color thing. But I pretty much already knew um, that the skin color thing was an issue because, I mean, come on, it's Caucasian people. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that to be a racist either, but I'm just saying, come on, Britain and America, Canada, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, they all have kind of the same. France, even the non-English countries like France, Germany, Spain, they all kind of have the same kind of hang-ups from colonialism about people of color, black people, Asians, American Indians. I mean, racism, white supremacy is a global problem, but the part where they just acted so rude to it and acted so blatant about it was what really stood out to me, Lisa, because here in America, um, people are racist, but they keep it to themselves. You know, they keep it to themselves. They keep it quiet. Um, it just seemed like it just seemed like it was more blatant, more out front with it than um, would be the case, here in the states. They felt like they could talk to her any kind of way. You know what I mean? Like no respect whatsoever. You know what I mean? That's what stood out to me, Lisa, about the interview. But like, I feel bad for her because she didn't really know what she was really getting herself into. She married the family, not I mean, she married the man, not the family. You know what I mean? But I mean, they caused this girl to have a miscarriage. That's how stressful the situation was. I would love to see in the future a Netflix movie and your boy Ben Shapiro immediately jumps on her and immediately criticizes her and ready to run to the defense of uh, the British royal family, ready to drag Meghan Markle through the mud, talking about, oh, there's going to be a Netflix movie. Then I hope there is a Netflix movie so they can expose even more of the hypocrisy and the craziness and the madness of what they put this good girl through. And it's crazy that a person like Ben Shapiro, who fancies himself a small government, American style conservative, would even agree with even the concept of a royal family. Come on, Ben. I thought you were supposed to be for individual liberty and conservatism and small government and bullshit like that. Once again, you've proven yourself, just like with the WAP situation with Cardi. You know what I mean? You've proven yourself to be a complete hypocrite. Fuck you, Ben Shapiro. Anyway, keep it moving. You know what I mean? So the people that are conservatives, both Americans and British people that are jumping down Megan's throat like Pierce Morgan, come on. Just because, they hurt your little feelings about your little royal family, come on. She's only exposing the truth of this already corrupt regime that should have been done away with years ago. As a matter of fact, they pride themselves on being entirely British, but in reality, the royal family descends from Germans. Their original name was Saxe Coburg um, Gona before they changed it to Windsor in 1917 because of the flack they were getting, being thought of as an enemy regime during World War II. I mean, World War One. I mean, Queen Victoria and her son spoke German to each other in Buckingham Palace back in the day. So they're a foreign regime. You know what I mean? So they're getting on Meghan Markle for being a quote unquote foreigner, non-British, but they're not even really entirely British themselves. They descend from Germans. Once again, I recommend watch this interview. Thank you, Lisa, for being part of the video. Um, I love you guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And yeah. The hell with the royal family and their evil ways and their stupid protocols and what they put Meghan Markle through. I hope she's better now. I hope she's in a better place mentally and physically. Peace. Don't forget to like and subscribe.